When I was a teenager, I had the opportunity to meet Pelé, one of the greatest footballers of all time. I was willing to take a risk because I knew it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, but it turned out to be a near miss. This isn't just a story about football. As a young bloke, it taught me what it means to lose. When we flew to the UK in 1996 on a family trip from Melbourne, I wasn't excited to see Buckingham Palace or Stonehenge. As a football-mad teenager, my dad and I had tickets to see England versus Scotland at Wembley Stadium as part of the Euro 96 Football Championship. The game was the day after we landed, and though I was still jet-lagged as we approached the old Twin Towers at Wembley Stadium, my heart raced. England and Scotland were traditional rivals, and the roar in the stadium was deafening. As a kid who'd been bullied at high school because I was the only English lad amongst my Greek and Italian friends, when England ran out onto the pitch, I lost my beans. England were 1-0 up, but they were looking a bit shaky until Dave Seaman saved a penalty. And then in the 79th minute, when Paul Gascoigne kicked the ball over a defender's head at the end we were sitting at, as a wide-eyed, kind of naive teenager, it was literally like time stood still. Everything went silent for a split second, and then he volleyed the ball into the back of the net and kicked one of the most memorable goals in football history. The entire stadium erupted, and I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. I was also pretty relieved I hadn't chosen to go to the bathroom at that moment. Still buzzing from the game, we travelled to Bath to visit my grandma. When I heard some DJs talking about the match on the radio, not one to shy away from a risk, I called the station and they put me live on air to have a chat. It felt like anything was possible. That's when they announced that Pelé, the Brazilian legend who'd won 3 World Cups and was a global football icon, was going to do a meet and greet at the famous Harrods department store in London. But we were about to head to Birmingham, so I convinced the family to let me travel by train alone as a 15-year-old to London to meet the great man. Not without some trepidation, they agreed. As the train rolled into London, I was sweating with nervous excitement, not only to meet Pelé, but also because I didn't want to miss my stop and end up in Peckham. Rushing through the doors at Harrods, London's luxury department store where royalty shopped and tourists flocked, I took my place in the queue between shelves stocked with stuffed Paddington bears and tins of shortbread biscuits. I popped my head out the queue to see the great man sitting at a table at the end with pen in hand, signing autographs. What struck me was how genuinely engaged and enthusiastic he was with every person he met in that line. And it was just so surreal to see him in real life. It was around 10 a.m. and I was quite a way back in the queue, but Pelé was due to be there till 12. So I wasn't concerned until 11 when the queue had barely moved. His gracious generosity meant he was spending far too long with every person. My train to Birmingham was also scheduled to leave at 12, so it was going to be touch and go. Continuously checking my calculator watch as I inched painfully closer, the bloke in front of me who looked like a rugby player got more and more agitated. At 11:45, I was 3 people from the front. The notion of missing my train filled me with dread as I imagined being stranded alone on the streets of Soho all night. At 11:50, I could almost reach out and touch Pelé's golden boot or his leather shoe. Only the rugby players stood between us. I had 2 choices. I could meet the man and miss the train or let it go and bolt. I decided I hadn't travelled halfway across the world to let the opportunity pass and chose to stay. That's when a security guard emerged and said that Pelé's time was up. As he ushered him away and Pelé waved farewell to the crowd, my heart sank. The vibe took a sudden turn and I thought the bloke in front of me was going to flip over a rack of Union Jack socks and start looting Harrods. I had to get out of there fast. There was still a chance I could catch the train that was leaving in 2 minutes. Sweating, I bolted down the stairs and out of Harrods but didn't know whether to go right or left. I took a guess, went left and found the station. Sprinting down the platform, the train pulled away. When the inspector told me that there wasn't another one until the next day, Right then and there, I learned that risk didn't guarantee reward. Trudging toward the info desk, the blood rushed to my head as I thought I was going to have to spend the night homeless in London as a 15-year-old, until they told me I could just get a bus to Coventry, which was only half an hour from Birmingham. I breathed a massive sigh of relief, but the mist still stung. It felt like I'd sent a penalty skyrocketing into the stands and was on the bus home. Trying to hide in my seat, it was as if the universe had said, you can see Gaz's goal or you can meet Pelé, but you can't have both. When I pulled into the station at Coventry with my tail between my legs, my dad and my uncle were there to console me. They'd been young blokes taking chances once too. They say never meet your heroes. I never even got the chance, and maybe that's the better story. At least that's what I'm telling myself. This video is in honor of the great and legendary Pelé, 1940 to 2022. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Till next time.